All right, our first link here says, suppose the diameter of a circle is 16. What is the circumference? Okay, if the diameter is 16, what is the circumference? Circumference is pi times diameter. So we just plug in 16 in place of d. We get 16 pi. Okay, it says either enter an exact answer in terms of pi or use 3.14 for pi and enter your answer. So you can do it either way. You can either use the pi symbol, or in place of pi you can put 3.14 and then multiply 3.14 and 16 together. It will take either one. So I'm just going to plug in the exact answer. So we'll do 16 pi. Good. Okay, this says suppose the radius is 5. What is the circumference? If the radius is 5, then what would the diameter be? The diameter would be twice as long, which would be 10. So I'm going to do c equals pi times 10, because that's the diameter, which is 10 pi. Plug in my exact answer. All right, the diameter is 2. What is the radius? Okay, all the way across is 2. That means just halfway would be half of that, which would be 1. So plug in 1. They're just checking to see if we understand the parts of a circle. Okay, our second link, find the area of a circle with a diameter of 2. So the diameter is 2, which means the radius would be 1. So I'm going to use my area formula. I plug in 1 for the radius. 1 squared is 1 times 1, which is just 1. Pi times 1 is simply pi. So my answer is just pi. Good. All right, find the area of a circle with a circumference of 10 pi. All right, so the circumference is already 10 pi. Remember, that's the distance around the outside of the circle is 10 pi. All right, now also remember, circumference is pi times diameter. So by process of elimination, that means that the diameter is 10. If we do the diameter times pi to get the circumference, and the circumference is 10 pi, that means the diameter must have been 10. If the diameter is 10, that means the radius then is 5. Okay, now I can use my area formula to find the area. So area is pi r squared. The radius is 5. 5 squared is 25. So that turns out to be 25 pi. Okay, find the area of a circle with a circumference of 16 pi. So if this is my circle, the circumference is 16 pi. Remember, circumference is pi times diameter. If we know the circumference is 16 pi, that means our diameter must have been 16. If our diameter is 16, then our radius is half of that, which is 8. Once we know the radius, we can use our area formula to find the area. Plug in 8 in place of r for radius. 8 squared is 64, and we get 64 pi. Alright, it says find the arc length of the partial circle. So what we have here, since this is 90 degrees, it's a fourth of a circle. So this is a fourth of the circumference of a circle with a radius of 1. So we're going to find the circumference of the whole circle using our circumference formula. And then we're going to divide it by 4, so we have just this part of the circumference, which is that arc length. All right, so our diameter for radius is 1, because this is going from the outside of the circle to the center. If that's 1, then our diameter would be twice as long, which would be 2. So the whole circumference would be 2 pi. Now we only want a fourth of that, because that's all of the circle that we have. So we would divide that by 4. Okay, 2 over 4 reduces to 1 over 2. So I can do 2 on the bottom, 1 on top, and then I still have my pi on top. Now notice I didn't write the 1 because I don't need to. I can put 1 pi, but it means the same thing if I just put pi over 2. And it's less to write. So in my answer, I just do pi over 2. All right, on this one it says find the arc length of a semicircle. So we have half of the circle. So again, we're going to find the entire circumference, and then this time we're going to divide it by 2 because we only want half of it. Circumference is pi times diameter. If the radius is 5, the diameter all the way across is going to be 10. So our circumference is 10 pi. Put 10 in place of d for diameter. Now we only want half of that, so we divide that by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then don't forget your pi. Put that on there as well. So it's 5 pi. Okay, find the area of the semicircle. Area this time. So no longer circumference, but the area formula. So area formula is pi r squared. From the picture we can see our radius is 6. So in place of r we put 6. 6 squared is 36. So it's 36 pi for the area. That's the area of the whole circle. But we only have half of the circle, so we want to divide that by 2. 36 divided by 2 is 18. The area of the semicircle is 18 pi. When the radius of a circle is multiplied by a factor of 3, by what factor will the circumference of the circle change? Okay, the radius is multiplied by a factor of 3. By what factor will the circumference change? Okay, the circumference of a circle with a radius of 3 is blank times as big as the circumference of a circle with a radius of 1. Okay? A couple different ways to do this, but especially when you're first starting out, just find the circumference of both circles, the circumference of the circle with a radius of 3, the circumference of the circle with a radius of 1, and then you can see how much bigger the second one is versus the first one. Okay, so let's try it. So we have a circle with a radius of 3. Let's just draw that quick. Radius of 3. We need to find the circumference. So C equals pi d. If the circumference is 3, the diameter is going to be twice as long, is 6. So the circumference is 6 pi. The circumference of a circle with radius 1, that diameter is going to be 2. So we use the same formula, pi d. In place of d we put 2, so the circumference is 2 pi. So the question is, how many times bigger is 6 pi than 2 pi? Well, you would do 2 times 3 to get 6, so it's going to be 3 times bigger. So all we do is plug in 3, and it's going to be 3 times bigger. Okay, it says a white bicycle tire leaves a trace of water on the floor. The tire has a radius of 14 inches. All right, let's draw that. A radius of 14 inches and the bicycle wheel makes 3 full rotations before stopping. How long is the trace of water left on the floor? So there's a trace of water left on the floor from this tire. So it says it makes 3 full rotations. So that's basically the circumference times 3. So if you can think of this unrolling, it would roll 3 times, leaving a line 3 times the circumference long on the floor. So if we find the circumference of this circle, we can just multiply that by 3, and we'll know how long the line is on the floor. So circumference is pi d. The diameter, they told us, oh no, the radius is 14. So the diameter is twice as long, it's 28. So the circumference of that circle is 28 pi. But we need 3 of those. So we have to multiply 28 times 3. We can write that out, which is 84. So the answer to our problem is 84 pi. Now again, we could multiply 84 times 3.14 to get an exact decimal number. Oh, actually it says give your answer in terms of pi. So they want us to leave it just like this. Okay, we can't use 3.14 this time. So we plug in 84 pi. Good. The penguin exhibit at the zoo has raised a circular island that is surrounded by water. The diameter of the island is 20 meters. One penguin swims halfway around the island before hopping out. How far did the penguin swim? So we have a circle with a diameter of 20. The penguin swims halfway around before it gets out. So how far did it swim? Well, it swam half of the circumference. The circumference is the distance around. So circumference is pi times diameter. They told us the diameter is 20, so that's 20 pi. But we only want half of that because the penguin only swam half. So we divide that by 2, and we know the penguin swam 10 pi meters. Now again, it says give your answer in terms of pi, so we have to leave it just like that. We can't use 3.14 again. So we put in 10 pi. Okay, we have to find the area of the shaded region. So what we have is 2 rectangles, but the shaded part is just the outside. So what we need to do here is find the area of the big rectangle, subtract the area of the little rectangle, and that will leave us with just the shaded part. So to find the area of a rectangle, we do length times width. So 8 times 7, which is 56. The little one in the middle, 6 times 4, which is 24. We subtract those 2, gives us 32. So the shaded area is 32. Okay, the first one was easier because it was rectangles. Now we have a circle and a square. It says, what is the shaded area of the shaded region? So again, we're going to find the area of the big square. We're going to subtract the area of the circle. And it says our answer should be to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to use 3.14 this time, not just the pi symbol. Okay, so the square, 11 times 11 is 121. That's the area of the whole square. Now we're going to subtract the area of the circle. So we use our area formula. The radius is 5, as they told us. So we plug in 5 in place of r. 5 squared is 25. So we get 25 pi for the area of the circle. Now we have to multiply that, 25 times 3.14, because they want us to use they want us to round to the nearest hundredth. So we have to use a decimal. Right, we need to multiply these two together. You can use a calculator to do that, or you can write it out longhand. But that's going to turn out to be 78.5. When we multiply 25 and 3.14, So we have to subtract 78.5. When you subtract, make sure you line up your decimals. We're going to have to borrow, put our decimal in place. We're going to have to borrow again. We're going to have to borrow again. We get 42.5. So that shaded area around the outside is 42.5. Okay, this time we have a circle on the outside, a little square on the inside. It says round your answer to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to have to use 3.14 again. Okay, so let's find the area of the circle. Area of the circle is pi r squared. The radius in this case is 4, as they show us in the picture. So in place of r, we put 4. 4 squared is 16. Don't forget the pi. So the area of the circle is 16 pi. Now we need to multiply by 3.14. 16 times 3.14 is 50.24. Alright. Then we need to subtract the square on the inside, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. So we need to subtract 9. Alright, we're going to end up with 41.24. We'll enter that answer. All right, that's it. Have fun working.